we all have this negativity bias of, okay, what went wrong, what will go wrong. So just get him to reframe a bit and get him to think, okay, mistakes are going to happen. That they always say, oh, I made a mistake. Well, you go and watch Messi and Ronaldo. Do you think that have they gone have a look at a whole game, actually watch it. You will not find a game where they made no mistakes. So if these guys who are the best, well, one of, or if not the best soccer players that ever exist are making mistakes in the game, what makes you think you're going to make no mistakes?
Coaches, welcome to the Better Coaching Podcast, powered by RYG Athletics, a proud provider of Nike sports camps. I'm your host, Luke Gromer. The mission of this podcast is simple. We want to help coaches get better. We do it by connecting coaches with ideas and strategies they can implement to grow as a coach and a leader to ultimately better serve their players and teams. I'm excited to welcome Phil Philipou to the podcast today. Phil is the author of Inspiring Young Minds, Mental Mastery for Youth Footballers, a mindset coach for athletes, and a youth soccer coach. And before we dive into the episode, if you're interested in learning more about how we serve coaches and work with them, you can head to the show details for links to the free podcast notes, our free online community for coaches, or more information about becoming one of our Nike Sports Camp directors. Now to the show. Enjoy. Coaches, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to be joined by Phil Philipou today. Phil, thanks for taking time to talk with me today, and I'd love it if you would start off the show and just introduce yourself to the audience, tell them a little bit about you and your background in sport and what led you to release your recent book.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Luke. Really appreciate it. So yeah, I've been coaching for 20 years now. So started in South London, where I'm from. So originally coaching in schools, multi-sports, but soccer is my game. After my time in England, I wanted to work a bit abroad, and I was lucky enough to coach in the US, predominantly on the East Coast, and then summers doing some summer camps in Seattle as well. So yeah, went back, and I felt like I still had a bit of a travel bug, and I think that obviously is the great thing with sports, isn't it? It's universal. It gives you license to travel and work in different places. So I went to Spain, where I did my master's degree with the Real Madrid University. I was desperate to stay in Spain, sent out hundreds of emails, and was lucky enough to get a job in Alicante, on the east coast of Spain, southeast coast, and I've been there ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah, and tell us a little bit about your current role in Spain.
I'm a mindset coach for soccer players. So I work with players around the world online, with clubs around the world. I work with Alicante City Football Club as a mindset coach, and then I also coach youth soccer as well. That I do weekly, and then I also coach a team at a school here in Alicante as well.
I love it. And you recently released a book. The title is Inspiring Young Minds, Mental Mastery for Youth Footballers. Tell us a little bit about the book and what prompted you to write it.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess initially I wasn't really looking to write a book. So I basically had an experience I had a 7-year hiatus from coaching youth soccer. So I was only coaching senior players. Youth soccer was always my passion. So I got a job at this school, and was first time in 7 years, excited to get going, and turned up. So you had my session plan ready, as if everything was going to go perfect. They ran rings around me. I really struggled to control the group, and I've got one kid playing basketball with the soccer balls, another one eating a sandwich in the middle of the court, and it kind of set a fear in me. I was scared. 7 years, have I lost my touch? Something I really enjoyed doing. So it kind of prompted me to go home, read a few books on behavior management. I thought, well, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to teach anything if they're running around and I'm not getting their attention. So I spent a couple of days on that, reading a few books and coming up with my own philosophy on, okay, how's the behavior management going to be? How am I going to set a learning environment? And And as I was writing this, I thought, well, actually, this might actually be helpful for other coaches as well. So it initially just started off as a guide for myself. And then, yeah, bit by bit, it started to grow a bit and thought, okay, well, maybe this will help others too.
Yeah, that's really good. I think that's how it happens for most people, right? We're trying to solve some problem, overcome some challenge, and then we realize, oh, wait, this might serve some other people. I'd actually love it if you talked more about the situation you were just discussing when you came into this youth team and it was chaotic and you realized, dang, I got to make some changes. Yeah, I believe in the book you call it a behavior hierarchy. Like what is that? How did you respond to the situation where your first practice is an absolute disaster? It's a mess. You don't have their attention. What'd you do?
Yeah, so like I said, my response at first was a bit of fear. Sometimes fear prompts you to go to that next level. And first of all, I reflected because I worked in South London. Maybe the US audience doesn't quite know about the different areas of London. South London is very high crime rate, a lot of gangs. So that was kind of my first experience of coaching in that environment. So I knew I had to think back, what did I used to do? How did I used to gain attention? And then, yeah, just through reading different books, there's one called Educating Football by Steve Salis, which is brilliant on that kind of aspect of developing character and behavior management, and also by a teacher in the UK called Sue Cowley, Getting the Buggers to Behave, which is also comes from a teaching point of view, but some really good takeaways. So the behavior hierarchy is, so effectively the first stage is that look. If a kid isn't doing the right thing, just giving them that look. I think we've all had that coach or teacher who just can do it with one look, and okay, I know the limit. So that way, also, you're not drawing attention to that player straight away. And then it will just be after that, you might just call them out, or a better way to do it as well, calling that to the group. Remember, these are our expectations. And then after that, we go on to a warning, a verbal warning, which might be something like, if you choose, and I always like to say that's a choice because it just allows them to become a bit more mindful of their actions. If you choose to do this, you have a 2-minute in the thinking square, or whatever you want to call it. I'm quite lucky now in Alicante. Most of the time it's really warm, so if they're just sitting out for 2 minutes, it's not too much hassle. I wouldn't do this in England, but there's always other ways around it. It might be, okay, take a ball by yourself, just use that time whilst you're with the ball, have a think about what you're doing, and then after 2 minutes, just explain to them what they did. If it happens again, it was going to be a 5-minute one, which is the next in the hierarchy, and then just giving them a bit of a fist bump at the end, just to maintain that relationship, make sure they know it's nothing personal. And then if they do it again, 5 minutes. If after that, then it'll be okay. If you choose to carry on doing this, we'll have to speak to your parents or guardians. And we always say the norm is that we don't speak to parents. It's very rare that we get to this stage, and we share this with the players so they know that, okay, the social norm is they don't do it. And another one in the social, one of probably the easiest, simplest trick that we can do is calling out the good behavior. So instead of just going straight for stop bouncing the ball, stop talking, you just call out, okay, thank you, David, for sitting down listening. Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you. And that becomes the social norm, as opposed to the social norm being bouncing the balls, speaking whilst the coach is speaking, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. What you said at the end there, I think is so important. And I think it's hard for coaches often because probably the nature of a lot of coaches, like we see what's wrong often. We go there, we're trying to diagnose the issue, problem individually as a team, et cetera. And with behavior, it's probably not an exception for most coaches. We see a thing that's wrong. But if we can retrain ourselves to actually catch kids doing it right, it's amazing what happens around them. I'm currently coaching a team of 6 and 7-year-olds in basketball. It's chaotic half the time, right? As 6 and 7-year-olds are. But one of the things I try really hard to do is when I call them over, when I ask for their attention, I just start praising the kids that are giving it to me. It's usually just like one kid, one out of the six is giving it, but I'm like, that's what I'm like. And then two or three of the other ones are like, oh, okay, I need to do this now. And then I notice them. And then the last couple come in, and so it's like, instead of me creating tension in the relationship with a few of the athletes, because I'm just like, hey, you pay attention, stand still, look at me, right? Just noticing the ones that are doing it right and calling it out, one, reinforces it to them. And then again, like you said, all of a sudden the other ones tend to follow. Not all the time, but they tend to. And the other thing that I think is worth highlighting that I respect is just having some clarity for them of like, hey, look, one, it's a choice that you're making. And here's the consequence for this choice. And if you keep choosing it, here's the consequence, right? Just being honest. And I think the other piece in how you communicated, it also sounded like how you deliver this is fairly unemotional. I think that's an important factor in it too, as coaches, when we're trying to hold kids accountable to the social norm standards, like in a real way, this is a form of discipline for them that we know that is hopefully going to serve them in their whole lives, but to be able to deliver that in a way that is, unemotional, that's calm, and just say like, look, this is what it is. If you choose this, you're going to have to be removed from this activity or this game. It's hurting the team. It's hurting the experience for other people. I think that's hard for coaches to do, but also very important. There's some clarity around what are the expectations, what are the consequences, and then as coaches, can we stay calm when they don't meet them, and deliver them that news while still trying to, and you said it, like, give them a fist pound at the end, keep the relationship strong in the midst of having to be the one that has to, dole out the discipline at times.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Yeah, it's about being assertive, but it's a really good point about the emotional side. And I think well, for me, what I found, having a behavior hierarchy, you really have a go-to. When the coach isn't sure of the consequences, the player's not sure of the consequences, they do something, you're like, okay, I have to discipline them. What do I do? And that first thing is usually shout, or as an emotional reaction, get out of the class, or whatever it is. But knowing that, okay, we spoke about this, that number one is a verbal warning, number two is because we don't tell them obviously about the non-verbal, the look or
The
anything like
look,
this.
yeah.
We go straight into, okay, just for if you can do it day one, great. Obviously, I ended up doing it day two, but if you can do it day one, it becomes a lot easier. They know the expectations from the off, but it absolutely is something that you can do midway through the season if you're finding yourself struggling to control a group, because it really, as you said, it's really not easy.
Yeah, it is not easy. The other thing that just popped in my mind that I think you might find value in this, Phil, and I think listeners would too. One of the things I often do, especially at the younger ages, or especially in the first few practices with a new team, I call them reset redos. So like, if the norm that I want is when I blow one long whistle for all the kids to run to me and huddle up, then we're going to actually practice it. And so I'm going to tell them about it in the first practice. Hey, when you hear one long whistle, I need you to leave the ball where it is, sprint to me, right? Or maybe it's freeze right where you are when you hear one long whistle. And so I'll do it, blow the long whistle. Half the kids, let's pretend like the expectation is they run to us. Half the kids run to us. A few of the kids jog. A few of the kids are picking butterflies or walking. You know what I mean? It's just, they don't all meet the expectation. And as coaches, that's the place where it's really easy to just get frustrated. Like, this is what I told you to do it. But what I found to be much more effective, especially if you do it early on in your season practices, is you say, hey, when I blow the whistle, this is the expectation. I'm going to send you back to where you were. I want you to keep doing exactly what you're doing. And now this time, when I blow the whistle, I'm looking for everyone to do X, to run into me. Okay, go back. Let them play for a minute, blow the whistle, boom. Usually they all then meet the expectation and you just call it out and celebrate it. That's exactly what I expect every time. And that's such a different approach than most coaches take when it comes to managing behaviors, right? And even from the standpoint of the coach then being able to manage themselves, stay calm, et cetera. Like, when as a coach, you don't have to worry about some of those things. Like, I'm mad because they're not hustling in and we're wasting practice time. It's like, no, we've taught them the expectation, we've practiced it, et cetera. Like, I think it just creates a better environment for everyone.
Yeah, I'm definitely nicking that from you, Luke. I'm taking that one from
Yeah.
you.
Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, we do something similar actually. We have the three whistle rule. So when you hear three whistles, take a knee. So at any point, obviously, the moments where it's a bit, everything's all over the place. Sometimes we're sharing a field with someone, so it becomes a bit too messy to control. So they know now you have three whistles, which is because as you know, if it's just the same whistle all the time, same whistle for stop, same whistle for go, so it starts to become a bit white noise. And so giving the same different, like you said, the long sharp whistle or the three whistles, it gives them, okay, they know that this is different.
Yeah. 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 I think too, in behavior, like managing the transitions in your practices, one, it can frustrate a lot of coaches if they don't know how to do it effectively because, again, there's wasted time. And then two, that's often where like the kids start goofing, jumping on top of each other, balls are going, you know what I mean? Like, so being clear with stoppage routines, your transitions, how do we stop you? How do we get your attention? What do we expect from you when you do that? I think that's, yeah, so
It's an
important.
investment, isn't it? It's an investment. You do it and you might lose a bit of time explaining this, but then the rest of the time, once they get it, you can teach more. They learn more.
Yeah,
They
slow
improve.
down to speed up. Yeah,
Yeah, I
at the
love that.
beginning, if we'll just slow down a little bit, lock in these routines, we're going to end up gaining time going faster throughout the rest of our season when we can get attention, give instruction, get back to playing quick.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I'm going into my third year now with this school, and we still have the thinking square there. Third year, we haven't had to use it once. So we've been going for 2 months now. We haven't had to use it once. And we've got quite a lot of new players, but the core group are ones that have been there for 3 years. So they now lead the expectations. They now say, hey, that's not how we do that here. If you keep doing that, coach is going to send you to the corner, whatever it may be. So it's an investment. We get more time playing now. We get more time learning. They get better overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I'm curious before we dive into some other topics from the book. You've been coaching for a long time, various levels, but now a chunk of your work is as a mindset coach. What was that transition and why? What was it that led you on that journey to realize, you know what, actually, I want to invest a lot of my coaching time in helping players with the mental side of the game?
To be honest, Luke, I think it gave me a bit more balance with my work. So I was coaching senior teams here in Spain. I was coaching a senior team, and I was also um, director of football, head of coaching. So I had a lot of spinning a lot of plates at the same time. Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of times in my coaching career I've gone through burnout. So that got to the moment where I didn't even want to watch a soccer game. I've been going to soccer games since I was 3 years old, and that's when I kind of thought, okay, something needs to change now. So I kind of thought, okay, what's the part of the job that I enjoy the most at the moment? And it was just having that one-on-one conversations with the players. They'll just come and sit in. Okay, let's talk about what are your goals for the season? What's challenging you right now? And having those. So I lent into that. And the great thing about it is that it allowed me to step away from coaching a bit and allowed me to work on that. But I got my hunger back for coaching after that. 'Cause I mean, I was going at that point, it must have been about 13 years non-stop coaching. And I loved it. But it got to the point where it's horrible feeling to have not enjoying something you love, you
Yeah,
know?
that's real.
Absolutely. And if it's obviously we all have tough days, but when it's going on months and months and months and you think, I don't know if I can do this, that's again another fear moment in a way that led me to go into to something else.
Yeah. Now that you're back coaching as well, doing both of them, I'm really curious, how have you how have you now integrated that side of things into your coaching, maybe more so than before? I don't know if there's some practical examples or things that you now do with teams that you didn't before to specifically, yeah, help them grow their mindset, develop that mental toughness. I'm just really curious about how you changed as a coach, stepping back into coaching teams after that transition and change.
Yeah, it's a great question. So obviously when I'm working with players as a mindset coach, that are senior players. So they tend to be 17, 18 or older. But then when I'm coaching on the field, they tend to be younger. So I see I'm not a big believer, to be honest, in having that sit down and working on mental skills at a young age. I mean, just let them play. There are things I look to do, I guess, the character development with the younger players, letting them know this part of the session now that we're going to do, it's not going to be easy. A big mantra we have is easy is boring. So we tell them, okay, it might not feel good. You know, when it's hard, it doesn't feel good at that time, but stick with it. That's where excellence happens. So without me telling them, okay, this is persistence, we're just letting them know, okay, this is how you're probably going to feel, but that's okay. Just because it doesn't feel good at that moment, it doesn't mean it's not good for you.
Yeah, normalizing struggle, that's so powerful. That's powerful for their mindsets too. And I think even just, the way that we talk about struggle, the way that we talk about challenge, I think is very forming, especially to young athletes, in what their mindset becomes and the way that they respond to challenge. You kind of started talking about it in there, just around, that character development piece and using sport for that, especially at the young level. And I would tend to agree with you as far as like, at these young ages, sitting them down and having one-on-one or classroom style, content around mindset isn't often appropriate, nor would they get much out of it. But I'd love to hear more from you about, how are you trying to integrate that character development into your coaching?
Yeah, a lot of it I think a lot of it comes from the praise as well that we give. The growth mindset praise is what we aim for. So obviously Carol Dweck. I say there's two books. I'm a big reader. There's two books that have completely changed my life, and that was one of them. Mindset by Carol Dweck. You know, I did 5 years of French at school. I couldn't tell you one word right now. So at that point, it was, okay, languages aren't for me. I'm just not naturally good at languages. That was the kind of attitude I had before. I very much had a fixed mindset. And then actually a coaching mentor of mine recommended this book. And after this book, a year later, I went to move to Spain, did a master's, majority of the classes in Spanish, and then learned the language, but just all from that, just from, being persistent and knowing that our brain is like a muscle, that it is malleable. And the way we do that with our praise is avoiding praising talent. So praising those things that are 100% in their control. Effort is in their control. Praising them for persisting with something. Praising them for thinking of something outside the box. There's a really good study actually with Carol Dweck in the book where I can't remember. I think about elementary school, and they gave them puzzles, and for half the group, they said to them, "Well done, you finished that so quickly. You're so smart." And for the other group, they praised them for the effort. They said, it seems like you worked really hard on that. So then what happens next when they said, okay, we have another puzzle now. This puzzle is more challenging. Do you want to do that one, or do you want to carry on and do the one you just did? And of course, the ones where she praised their natural ability, calling them intelligent, clever, they wanted to stick with the original one. Because why would they try and do a more challenging one where there's a chance of failure and losing their label as intelligent, naturally intelligent? Whereas the other ones who were praised for their effort and their persistency, they said, "Yeah, bring on, let's do the more challenging one." Because it doesn't matter if they're not going to lose their label. The label is going to be them working hard. So that's a big part of our philosophy when coaching, that when we're praising a player, it's not just you're an amazing player, or you're such you're an amazing passer of the ball. We prefer to go somewhere like, it looks like you've been working on your passing. It seems like you've been working on your passing. So then they know, okay, if I keep working on my passing, I might even get even better. And what we see is the ones who, so I take a couple of young coaches with me who play for the team, for my senior team, to get a bit of coaching experience. Obviously, that is probably stuff that they've heard, and we've all heard, and we probably all got that kind of praise when we were younger. But that's their initial reaction. They want to praise the ability. But then why would that player whose passing is so good, if we just praise his passing, why would he try and do something more creative? Would he try a more difficult pass, one that would challenge him? Probably not, because he's afraid of losing that label. But again, if you're praising the process or the effort, that's something that they can bring into anything.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's so good. I try to do this with my oldest son, and even in school, and the stuff he'll bring home. Hey, look at this assignment I did, and I fight the urge to say, like, wow, this is amazing. You're so smart. And I try to say, man, I can tell you worked really hard on this. I can tell that you did your best on this. And yeah, in the sport context too, man, I can tell that you were trying blank, right? Or I noticed. Yeah, that's so important. The thing I would add there too that is so powerful is when we can shift our language to focus on the process and praising effort, and then when we can really notice their progress and honor their risk taking when it doesn't go well. A couple things. One, wow, like that pass you just made, you didn't make that last week. That's a new pass. Like you added that. You couldn't do that pass 2 weeks ago, right? And or they try to play that ball through to someone and it's the right decision, but it just doesn't get through to them, whatever. The defender makes a good play, like whatever might happen in sport, to also be able to say, hey, that was the right pass. Keep making it, right? I know that it didn't turn out right, but that's a really good pass. Keep making that. I can tell that you're working, like that sort of feedback and framing of their decisions and their mistakes, I think is so powerful if we want to help them embrace that mindset too, where they're actually focused on getting better and they're willing to take risks and they're willing to, like, that's, yeah, so key. So I resonate so much with what you said there.
Yeah, and this I think that goes again as coaches, we want to help. It's why we're doing what we're doing. So sometimes we want to give them the answers straight away. But I think even in those moments, I love that you tried that pass. It's nearly there. What do you think you could do different next time? Or what do you think you can add to that? And then get them thinking. We might see it very clearly. And it's very easy just to give them the answer. But I think when they come up with the answer themselves, I'm kind of going on to your previous question with what have I brought from mindset coaching to coaching. I think that's one of them. Helping them get the answer as opposed to just giving them the answer. Because I think when they come up with the answer themselves, it's empowering them, it's giving them responsibility. And I think that learning lasts that bit longer than if they just get the answer.
Yeah. Can you say more about that or give some examples of questions you like to ask to nudge in that direction?
Yes, I think so. Those kind of questions, what could you do different next time? I think one that we forget a lot of the time, what went well. So if they're reflecting on performances, so it's what could you do better? What could you do better? Good. But what did you also do well? And especially with my senior players, this is one that they always forget. I did this wrong. I did this wrong. I did this wrong. Okay. What did you do? I didn't do anything well. Okay. So you went the whole game, nothing happened. But, and it's not just to have fluff or to be nice and positive. That's also a learning moment. Think about what you did well so you can repeat. It's a learning moment. If you're only concentrating on what went wrong, obviously the what went wrong is also a learning mode, but if you only concentrate on that, you're going to forget what you've been doing well. So I think getting them to think of this as well is so important for them, because we all have this negativity bias of, okay, what went wrong, what will go wrong. So just get them to reframe a bit and get them to think, okay, mistakes are going to happen. That they always say, oh, I made a mistake. Well, you go and watch Messi and Ronaldo. Do you think that have they gone have a look at a whole game, actually watch it, you will not find a game where they make no mistakes. So if these guys who are the best, well, one of, or if not the best soccer players that ever exist are making mistakes in the game, what makes you think you're going to make no mistakes? And actually there's so the team that I support is Crystal Palace in England. The coach just won our first trophy in 120 years, and he was on a podcast fairly recently, and he was saying about a young player, 17-year-old, that he got up to the first team to come and play like a friendly match. He went and asked the player afterwards. He was like, how do you think you did? He was like, yeah, I think I did really well. I didn't make any mistakes. He was like, well, I didn't bring you here to not make mistakes. I brought you here because what I saw when you were playing in the youth team, you were being brave, you were being courageous, you were taking players on. So, okay, you didn't make any mistakes, but that's not why you're here. You know, you're playing so safe that you're losing a big part of your personality and why you've been successful up to this point.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it is so important to create an environment where, yeah, mistakes are normalized. And too, like you talked about, the stories that our players tell themselves really matter. I know in the book you talk about weasel words in association with kind of the same idea of the inner dialogue, the stories that athletes are telling themselves. Will you talk more about what those are and why you think they're important?
Yeah, so it makes you a bit more conscious about what you're saying. I actually took it from a book called Game Changers. So he had 4 words. I added a couple more words onto that. So it's words like should, I should have scored, I should do this, and it's just not helpful. You know, I should have scored. Okay, that what is that giving you? Just changing that should to could. I could have scored creates okay, what could I have done? When it's a what should I have done, it's just a black and white, one or the other. I should have used the inside of my foot. Okay, but there might have been another option. When you say could, it gives you all the possible answers. And it's unnecessarily anxiety inducing. I should go to the gym. But you just change that to I could go to the gym. You automatically start thinking, okay, maybe it's my choice. Okay, what's stopping me? But I should, it's like you're trying to please someone else, or if you don't do that, you know, it's over. And need is another one. Think about what do we actually need? We need water to every few, I don't know, a few days, maybe a couple of days. We need food every few days. We need oxygen every few minutes. So these are survival words. Like, again, it's something as simple as I need a coffee. You're automatically turning on fight or flight. You don't need a coffee. You want a coffee. We need to win today. You're not going to die if you don't win today. You want to win. So these kind of, and it's just funny when the players are speaking to me now, then they hear themselves say a weasel word and they're getting out of it quickly. But I kind of like that. It keeps them on track. It keeps them thinking about thinking. So I think just those little shifts in vocabulary that they use, but also that what we use with them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's really important to reframe how they think about things, but even also you're again setting the social norm for how do we talk about things here and what's important to us here. And I think that's really, really powerful. I know another thing that you discuss in the book is the importance of having a definition of success. And I'd love for you to talk more about that and why you think it's so important.
It's really helpful when we have those big decisions. No matter what age group, what level you're coaching, at some point during the season, you're going to have a big decision to make. So I use some examples in the book that really helped me. Part of our success statement was we want to help develop the person as well as the player. And we want to challenge the person as well as the player. So one of our rules, again, these were young kids, is okay, the first 5 players to arrive on a game day are the starters. So then what happens when your goalkeeper isn't there? So we had to think, okay, do we start him? Do we not? Obviously, the team's going to struggle at first without him. He's obviously going to come on at some point. But then those moments that you don't have much time to think, or even when you do have a lot of time to think and you're just not sure, it just helps you find that North Star. Obviously, we asked ourselves, looking at our success statement, helping develop the person as well as the player, we've told the players, the first 5 players that turn up. So are we going to go and say to one of these players, I know I said this, but we want our goalkeeper to start? No, so we made the decision. Luckily, it was all fine. even though no, it's not the most important thing, we did get the win. And that, again, it's another thing we say to the players too, that winning isn't important, but wanting to win is. Trying to win is. In fact, try is actually one of the weasel words, so we try and avoid that one now. But wanting to win is important, putting that effort in. Yeah, there's been quite a few things, even something as we're doing a coaching session, they're finding it really, really difficult. And shall we go back to what they know? Shall we go back to the easier option? And say, okay, go back, success statement, and we have it there ready to look at. They think, okay, no, if we're going to challenge them, if we're going to help them as people as well as players, this is part of it. Having those moments where just nothing feels like it's going right. We're all going to get those moments in life, and just supporting them through that. So we want to stretch them. We want to challenge them, but we also got to support. Something I struggle with some coaches, they think it's one or the other. You're either going to stretch them, you're going to be that coach who challenges them on everything, or you're going to be the the coach that is always there to support them. And these are tools. It's not one or the other. It's when shall I use this? When shall I use this? And that's what we try to do. We stretch them. We try and make it really difficult for them, but we're there to help them through that process too.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many good things there. Yeah, challenge and support are not mutually exclusive. We operate a ton of Nike sports camps throughout the U.S. every summer. Our 4 program pillars are fun, challenge, support, and connection. That's what we want them to experience when they're at our camps, and we think we can put them all together, right? We think that's actually that's like the secret sauce in sport. When it's enjoyable, challenging, they're connected to teammates and they're supported in the midst of the struggle. Like that's why we coach. I think a lot of us, it's like, man, we want to see that happen. And then I resonate, deeply with what you just said about the importance of having a North Star success statement, because the reality is, like you said, you need it for the moments when you have tough choices to make, and to be able to come back and say, this is what we said we're about. What choice aligns with it? And one of the biggest factors in any sort of leadership, coaching, whatever it is trust. Do your players, your employees, whoever it is that you're leading, do they trust you? Do they know that when Phil says something, he's going to deliver on it? He's going to stick to it. And for you in that moment, that choice of, okay, I told them this. Am I going to do it? Or am I going to go back on my word and say, well, we decided not to because of this reason, which inevitably, maybe it's just with that one kid, or maybe it's your whole team, erodes trust.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It erodes trust. And now, sure, there are times and situations, every situation is nuanced and different. And you might have to go back and say, guys, I said this, and now this is a situation. I think we need to change it, and here's why. Like, I think people are pretty receptive to that when you're honest with them. But in large part, it's like, hey, are we just willing to stick to what we said? If we said this is success, if we said this is what we care about, our actions have to support it if we want to keep the trust of those players. And then the other important, right, the parents that are often important stakeholders in this, especially at the younger levels of sport. If we've communicated to parents, like, this is the expectation, this is what we're going to do, and then you have to do it, right, to keep their trust. Like, I'll give you a really quick example and story. I mentioned this first grade basketball team I'm coaching, and we have one player on the team who, man, he's not very skilled yet. And he really struggles even just to dribble the ball. But I told all the parents before I'd ever seen the kids play, I was like, look, they're all going to play equally. That's like part of the league rules. And then I said, every kid's going to get meaningful opportunities to bring the ball up the court and handle it during the game. Because the young levels of basketball, if one kid's your point guard the whole time, they're going to dominate the ball. You're going to just see a reduced amount of touches for all the other kids, et cetera. Like, it's similar in soccer. I coach soccer too at the youth levels, right? And so it's like one kid can dominate. And so it's like, we're just going to do some stuff to intentionally make sure that every kid is getting some meaningful reps in every game, right? And I also try to tell the parents, like, look, the reality is your kid's probably going to get 8 to 10 touches in a game, and I'm going to get them like 60 to 80 to 100 in a practice. So like, this is where they're going to be growing a lot. Sorry. But one of the kids of the team really struggles to dribble it, and it's his turn to be the one bringing it up the court. And there's this moment in me that's like, man, it'd be so easy to just skip this kid and let somebody else dribble it up the court. But I told the kids, I told the parents, this is what I'm going to do. It's like, I got to do it. I got to do it. And it's going to be brutal for him. The other team's going to probably get a bunch of buckets, but like, I got to stick to it. because it's what I said is important. And it's what aligns with my definition of success. Like I told them I wanted every kid to have fun and want to play again. So then I got to do those things that line up with that. And again, context matters. It changes age, stage, level you're at, right? But the alignment of your words and actions, like that matters everywhere.
Yeah, no, I really admire that. We can feel when we go against our values. You get to bed at night, and even if you've had to make a really tough choice, you might upset some people, but you can be disappointed, but you still know, okay, I've done the right thing. And I think that's a big part. And I mean, a big role model of mine is John Wooden, obviously the ex-UCLA coach, and he said a story. I mean, his book is brilliant. Leadership by John Wooden is outstanding for anyone who kind of is interested in this kind of subject. I remember him saying in the book that they're on the bus ready to go to a game. He was quite old school. He had these rules, obviously, certain haircuts or whatever it was. One of the better players wanted to come back onto the bus, and I think he had sideburns or something, and he was like, "I'm sorry, you're not coming on." He was like, "Why?" He was like, "Your hair." He's like, "Yeah, but you can't make me change my hair." It's like, "No, you're right, but I can choose who plays." And
Yeah.
he ended up leaving, which is true. And he ended up leaving him out. And obviously, the
Came in with
next,
his haircut. Yeah, I think it was Bill Walton.
absolutely,
Yeah, that's a good
you know.
story.
So obviously, he's had to sacrifice in that moment one of the better players. But in the long run, again, it's an investment. In the long run, okay, everyone, we're all going to be the same. This was obviously one of his key values. But like you said, it does get so much trust from the players and the parents. And see, as we all know, anyone who's coaching youth sport, the parents can sometimes be the biggest challenge. Usually 95% of them are great, but it's just that 5-10% who might be the loudest. But there's also a section in that book, in the book as well, where I talk about the parent education, and just like how we do with the players, we set the standards out from the start for the parents. Okay, these are our values. During the game, we're going to do very minimal coaching with the player, with the ball. And we expect you guys to do the same, because this is what we believe is going to develop the player the most. They're going to make the decision. The classroom is during the week. That's when we might stop and teach, but the game day is their exam. The way I put it to the parents is because obviously as parents, they want to obviously help their child. They want to give them the answer. But we say to them, you can sit with them in the math exam. You might even give them all the correct answers. But has that helped them? Do they know how they've got to that answer? So we've just got to let them struggle, let them make mistakes, and we'll talk about the mistakes after.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love for you to say more on that front for coaches, because I think there's some takeaways there at any level you're coaching at, maybe you're youth, high school, even into college, right? Getting your parents aligned on what you're about is really, really important, but not easy. And I think oftentimes it's easy for coaches because we know it can be a hard spot to just avoid it. Just what I'm just not really going to engage. But I think what you're saying there is so important. Hey, here's the expectation. For example, during the game, this is what we're going to do as coaches. This is what we are asking from you. That clarity is important. Are there other things that you found to be effective in your communication or setting kind of those standards and expectations with parents?
Yeah, so we do it early, but so at first we talk about the training expectations, our values, so they know well singing from the same hymn sheet. But we always send that message about game days the day before, so it's fresh in the mind. So sometimes if you do it a few weeks before the first game, by that time they've either voluntarily or involuntarily forgotten about these expectations. So we do it the night before our first game. Okay, these are our expectations. This is what we'll be doing. Okay, the same will the first 5 players. That one's particularly good as well because the players then put pressure on the parents to get them there early when it's a 8 a.m. start on a Saturday morning. But I guess just how you would with players. You're not going to you're probably not going to talk much about the expectations on game days about, I'm not going to tell the players 2-3 weeks when we're still in pre-season. On game days, me and the coaches, we're not going to speak much, especially to the player on the ball. We might ask you some questions, but we're not going to speak too much. We do this on the last training before the game day. So that, again, they know. And I think it eases it for them as well. They know what to expect. Okay. I think if we go in straight away and don't tell them this, then I think, why is coach not saying anything? Am I doing good? Am I doing bad? They would kind of want that 50-50, don't they? It's either good or bad. But yeah, we tell them like that. Okay. The games are for you guys. This is where you guys are going to improve the most. I'm not going to play it for you. But after the game, our next training session, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, Phil, this has been awesome. Before we wrap it up, I'd love if you just shared a little bit more about the book and how you hope that it helps a coach. If a coach picks up and reads this book, what do you want them to walk away from it with that's going to serve them on their journey?
So I guess going back to, I think it's a lot of people's success statements as coaches. It's developing the person as well as the player. So allowing them to fail, helping them get through setbacks. So, I mean, I use soccer as the platform to help the next generation. That's my belief. I think that goes in with sports in any point. The great thing with sports is you get lots of wins, you get lots of losses. So you're getting lots of reps that maybe kids who don't play sports don't get. You're getting plenty of life reps. You automatically start to learn about these setbacks, which is why I'm not a big believer on making training easy. Ideally, you make training challenging. Yes, there's going to be moments you just let them play. Again, it's not one or the other. It's okay. That challenging moment is the point where they're going to develop this life experience. No matter how small it is, I can't shoot the ball yet. As opposed to just giving the ball with an open net. You might start it like that, but it's just building them up and just using sport as that platform for the next generation.
Yeah, we need more resilient kids, man. Life gets hard and messy. Phil, this has been awesome. Before we wrap it up, I've got 3 rapid fire questions for you. Just fill in the blank here on these questions with the first thing that comes to your mind. The first one is, I know I'm successful as a coach when...
Players from years back still remember me.
Yeah, that's special. The next one, I wish I would have known blank before my first coaching experience.
Kids aren't just going to listen to you just for the sake of it.
Yeah, man. Who are you? Why would we listen to you? You gotta invest in that relationship. You gotta build some trust. Yeah, it's so good. They've got to know that you're there to help them. We'll listen to people that want to help us. Yeah, it's good. The last one, the most fun part of coaching is
seeing young people get over adversity.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's so cool when you see a kid get over something, through something, come back from something. Yeah, it's so good. Well, Phil, this has been awesome. Before we hop off, just share with the listeners where they can connect with you, get your book, or learn more about you and your work.
So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Phil Philipou. On Instagram, it's @MindSightSport, and the book is available on Amazon.
Awesome. Phil, hey, thanks for your time and thanks for sharing with coaches.
Thank you so much for having me on, Luke.
Coaches, thanks for listening to this episode, and thanks to Phil for joining us. To learn more about him and his work, or get his book, or to get a free PDF of notes from this episode, check out the links in the show details. And if you're interested in joining our free online community for coaches, or becoming one of our Nike Sports Camp directors, you can also check out links for both of those things in the show details. Thanks for listening.